Hey guys, I just wanted to provide an update for you on my son Vincent. It's been a little while since I've provided anything to you. For those of you who are just getting started with the videos, Vincent is 7 years old and in the second grade. And a year ago, we started going to see specialists because they first started saying that his macula was not reflecting light. Later, we found out that it was reflecting light and that there were other issues going on. And anyway, we ended up going to Children's Mercy, where we see a specialist on a regular basis. We've been through several different testings now. We've been through an ORG, which is an older machine that kind of just takes a picture of the inside of your eye. Which is very hard. He was 6 at the time to do that. And then we did an EEG, which just happened over the summertime. And the EEG is similar to like an EKG. It's electrodes, but it's for your eyes. So they just kind of strap some little things right here on your eyes, and they just test the function of your vision. And when they do that, they do dilate the eyes, and they do it with the lights on, and then they do it with the lights off. And when the lights are off, they cover the bottom of the doors to make sure there's no light coming through. And basically, it kind of tells them the function of the rods and the cones in the eyes with the lights on and with the lights off. It was about an hour testing process. Anyways, so when we did that, it came back that both in the light and in the dark, that Vincent's rods and cones were not functioning. So the next step from there is that we were told that we needed to attend a genetic testing clinic to see if he had retinitis pigmentosa, which pretty much what they did was, well, it took several months to get the genetic testing clinic date scheduled, and I was really on ease and pissed off in my last video because it was taking so long. So we finally had that happen, and we went in, and they originally told us that they were going to examine my uncle, who has RP and has been legally blind since before he was school age. They told us originally that they were going to do like a regular field examination on his eyes, and then do one on Vincent and kind of be comparative and write notes on that. And then they would get a family history and they would do blood work. But they did look at Vincent's eyes that day. They did dilate them, just kind of did a regular exam of Vincent's eyes, but they did not look at my uncle's. I don't know why, but it was a different specialist than who we see regularly. And then after that, it was kind of just like a lot of family history, just going back to genograms and my family history of vision issues, health issues, all of that type of thing, which also kind of helps to indicate non-syndromatic and syndromatic. So then they took blood. They did take it from my uncle as well. I don't know if the lab is going to test it or not for my uncle, but they took blood from me, Vincent, and Grant, his father, and they sent it off to the lab. No issues with insurance, so it just went to the lab right away and told us that we would have to wait 8 to 16 weeks to get the test results back. About a week ago, I contacted the genetic specialist and I said, hey, have you heard anything? I'm just kind of getting a little antsy. I know 16 weeks is in January, so we were getting kind of close to that halfway point, and she said that the insurance company sent it straight through with no issues, so she is hoping that we will have results by mid-November, early December. So hopefully we will get those. With that being said, I kind of want to touch base on what retinitis pigmentosus is. just in case anybody isn't aware, and so that you can educate yourself on it. It is a genetic disorder, and it's a pretty much progressive vision loss. Retinitis pigmentosa obviously affects the retina, which is a layer in your eye that is light sensitive, and so when I say that he's night blind, that's usually the first symptom of retinitis pigmentosa, is that you're losing it because you're in the dark and you don't have that light to reflect and take in that light. So when I was talking about syndromatic and non-syndromatic earlier, they believe that whatever eye disease Vincent does have is non-syndromatic, and what that pretty much means is that it only affects his vision. There are some cases out there that are syndromatic, and it affects other organs, such as a child will be going blind at the same time they're going deaf. So it's a positive thing that they see it as non-syndromatic, if you can see any positive in this light. From what we understood from the genetic clinic is that right now there are only like 460 known genes associated with retinitis pigmentosa, and they believe that there's thousands of more that just have never been discovered, and only 10% of those 400 that are known have a cure as of right now, which is kind of like a therapy that they're doing, and that was just newly discovered. So it's kind of, does it really work? A lot of people have asked me, can you do eye transplants and this and that? Because it affects the retina and it attaches to the nerve. At this point, scientifically, there is no proof or study or successful surgery where they can detach the nerve from the brain, fix it, replace it, get back function, and it not do the same thing. So right now, no, that's not really an option. Now, that being said, for adults, I heard there is some type of transplant that they can put in your retina to improve it, but in children, I really don't know. So right now with this, it's really a matter of waiting on test results to come back, which is hard to sit here and wait. And to my classmates, to my coworkers, to my friends and my family, they all know I've been going through panic disorders. I am diagnosed with panic disorder and anxiety, and it has just been on the rise. I'm very forgetful lately. I just, if something happens, I can't function. It's kind of debilitating because you just know, yes, it has to run its course and you can only do what you can do. But as a parent, just sitting back and not being able to do anything makes you feel helpless. So the purpose of these videos, besides keeping everybody updated and trying to stay positive, is to educate all my viewers, and hopefully you guys will spread all of the information, because I have found that there is, at least in Kansas, nothing. I have spent hours upon hours upon hours doing my research for resources and funding and things that you can do. The closest school for the blind is in Kansas City. I spent the last 3.5 months looking for somebody to teach my family Braille, including Vincent, so that we would be adaptable to his needs and understand what he's going through with the transition. And until this week, I was unable to do that. I put a 504 plan in place for Vincent. So the accommodations that he currently has in school is they provide a lamp to him, and like the projectors that they have, they'll have new light bulbs in them. They just try to make it where if it's dark, he's able to see. And he has a little portable light that he can take around to the different classrooms. So if he has music or library or something like that, they accommodate him. So I put that 504 plan in place. I asked for those accommodations and I had to advocate for those accommodations. When I first told them about the vision issues at the school, they were kind of like, we're sorry that they're going on, but they really didn't have much to say about it. So I reached out this week to the Kansas City School of the Blind and I said, look, I live in Topeka. I'm needing resources and I'm not finding any resources. I really want to start my son on Braille before he loses his vision. And is there anybody in the area or anybody that can travel to the area, because I do not want to pull my kid out of school, which a lot of people are questioning that. And my reasons for that is Vincent is going to have to adapt to his environment just like everybody else. In the real world, we are not going to be able to put him in a society of people who are visually impaired. We have to think about it. No matter where he goes in life, he's going to be around kids that are different, that can see, and he needs to get to know that better. So that's kind of just my standpoint on that. Well, finally, they reached out to some of the personal contacts that they had, and it turns out that there is a very visually impaired teacher in our district. Who would have known, because the school never told me. So she went this week, grabbed his 504 plan, and is going to start working with Vincent on a one-on-one basis to see if he is having all of his accommodations met, if he needs new accommodations put in place, and she's going to start working with him on Braille. Now, I'm so happy and thankful that we at least got that taken care of. Now, like I said previously, as a family, we want to learn Braille, so that's something we still have to try to figure out. So I will kind of jump into this week, and this week's been hell, and it's only Tuesday. So yesterday, while I was at work, Vincent had an emergency vision appointment that I had set up. I had called her late last week because I was online doing research, and for those who don't know, I'm currently an intern, so I do not make very much money, and I'm considered a low-income family. I mean, we're a family of 4. Grant's a college student, and I'm sorry, but $13 as a social worker just doesn't make much for income. So, when we found out Vincent had his vision issues, yes, I've bought Braille books. I've tried to look online for resources, for techniques. I've signed up with the Foundation of the Blind, who have sent me some pamphlets and stuff. But I applied for disability for Vincent so that what we could do was seek services like typing services or special classes that he wants to take or equipment so that he can make that transition. SSI denied us and stated that Vincent did not qualify because it does not affect his daily functioning. Your guess is as good as mine of how night blindness and having a 504 plan and your rods and cones not working doesn't affect your daily function, but we'll just go with it. So I appealed that decision, and I'm currently waiting on that to come back with an answer. And over the phone, very rudely, they informed me that if he gets denied again, that I need to seek legal counsel. So I have reached out to some of the resources in Topeka, such as Kansas Legal Services, to see if I can get some type of assistance if he does get denied again with helping me fight that. So back to the vision thing. So I was looking up, and on like KDHE, they have to have like certification, but they will do like reimbursements for like visually impaired and stuff. And Vincent's eye doctor is Children's Mercy, which is over an hour drive. So the gas to and from, going every couple months there. If we want to teach him life skills, there is places that are called like Alpha Point. that just kind of help him learn basic life skills along the way. But again, that's in Kansas City. The School for the Blind is in Kansas City. Any type of service that you need is going to be Kansas City, Wichita, over an hour drive away. So we're going to have a lot of financial expenses coming about. And then, luckily, right now we do have medical insurance for him, so at least that portion is covered. So I asked the eye doctor to do a night blindness test to see if we could get some type of documentation that showed that he had night blindness. So I want to read you the letter that the doctor wrote for Vincent, and it says, "To whom it concerns. This letter is in regards to Vincent's current visual and disability status. Vincent has been seen in my office for many years. When he was first seen by me, his vision was correctable to 20/20. At this point, his vision is correctable to 20/50 OD and 20/70 OS. This is a slow scanning visual acuity and the best that he is capable of. Vincent's visual field is severely restricted in either eye with a usual visual field of approximately 10 to 15 degrees. Beyond that, it is not very useful, but not an absolute scotoma. Right eye is worse than left. Confrontation fields were interesting as his count fingers confrontation fields were relatively normal in normal lighting, but completely negative in dim lighting. Where I could see my hands perfectly, he was unable to count fingers or see my hands really at all. Vincent has confirmed diagnosis of rod cone dystrophy. We are unsure if it is an unusual variant of retinitis pigmentosa or some other form of dystrophy. He shows no biny spicula formation on fundus exam, which would be consistent with retinitis pigmentosa. However, he has been suffering from progressive vision loss confirmed on an electrodiagnostic testing, and I see no reason why this will not continue to degrade and likely result in blindness. It is my opinion at this point that we should be starting vision training for Vincent on how to deal with his impending vision loss, whether that is training at School for the Blind, training in Braille, or other occupational and educational type adaptations. While by certain measures today he would not qualify as legally blind, he is very close and is heading that way. There is no likely stopping the degeneration. We are unable to stop the progression of his disease, but we can make a difference in his happiness and productivity as an adult by intervening now in education and training. It seems a shame if the insurance and or disability rules will not provide for this needed training." So that is just from his regular eye doctor, and I'm very glad that we kind of had that heart-to-heart, and he understands the severity of Vincent's condition and that it is progressing. And this time we were able to get some good documentation as far as what he can and cannot see, because it's really hard to test for night blindness. So I'll just kind of give you an example. So his right eye is worse than his left eye. So this is the documentation, and that little picture you see right here is his eye. So the gray area is where the light needs to be brighter. So if it's in the dark, those are the areas that are being affected. If you see it like the black spots, that's where he pretty much cannot see at all. So it would be like looking down and just not being able to see whether night or day or night. So he does have some vision spots right now that he is unable to see. This is a copy of his left eye, so you can see that it is significantly less than the other one was. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of perception on that. So rod cone dystrophy is not much different than retinitis pigmentosa. Dependent on the genetic testing, again, it all depends on genes and genetics and all of that. you can have some chances of not going fully blind compared to retinitis pigmentosa, and there may be some interventions, but if you do your research, and this is just kind of one of the pamphlets that they were provided to us on retinitis pigmentosa, one of the other known names is rod cone dystrophy. So that kind of just gives you another example that it's just very similar. Right now, he is diagnosed with a rare eye disease. It's just a matter of finding out what genes are affecting it and moving forward from there. I have found some, I've sent hundreds of emails asking for information. I've reached out to colleges such as KU who provide like assisted technology and are like doing programs with the students to try to get like intake appointments with them to see if they can or cannot help Vincent in certain ways. I've tried to look for parent support groups online because it's just so hard to be face to face, and again, a lot of those services are over an hour away, and I can't find any support groups online for this. So I've kind of really been on my own. When I found out the information yesterday, I didn't fully grasp what was going on, and I was at work. I worked a 13-and-a-half-hour day yesterday, and I had to have people cover some of my stuff because I just was not emotionally there. And I just kind of was like, hey, if I'm going to be working, I want to be in an office by myself, not interacting with people, because I'm going to kind of lose it. It was just one of those points, again, that you just feel helpless. So I am trying to just keep advocating, keep educating. If you have a family history of eye disease or know somebody that does, there's this really great website. It's called myretinatracker.org. And what you do is you enter all your personal information in there. You can upload documents, and it has you answer all these type of questions, and pretty much you can be part of clinical researches. So if it comes back that the genes that he has, or whatever the results come back, and if there's no cure or it hasn't been studied, we can reach out to these clinical researchers and say, hey, this is what it came back with. Can you start studying this so maybe we can come up with a cure? So my hope is that scientifically we can come up with something very soon, and do that, because I'm trying to figure out, be creative on my son's future. He wants to be a doctor, he wants to be a scientist, and he's very smart, and no matter if he loses his vision or not, I have to see that he succeeds in doing that. So I have to find the right resources and the right tools, which if I have to stay up every single night once they go to bed researching that, I will. And I'm going to continue to fight for that. So I will end this on the note that coming up next year in 2018, there is a VisionWalk in Kansas City, and my team is participating. And you can donate if you're unable to do the walk, but it is raising funds for fighting against blindness and making more people aware. I'm also looking into hopefully starting a website soon to raise awareness of the struggles as a parent with a child who is visually impaired, not having enough resources, and trying to gather resources to assist. So if you have any comments, feel free to post them. If you have any resources, please share them. Feel free to share this video with anybody and everybody. Get it into other countries. We need to be the source of information. We need to be the advocates, and since nobody has done it this far, let's start now and let's spread awareness, because this isn't going away, and genetics are going to be forever. So just years to come, this disease is going to continue to happen, and it's just such a shame that it's been going on for so long and there's still nothing that you can do. So This is just as important as cancer. This is just as important as other, diseases that do get all the funding and research is provided to them. It's a child's life that it is affecting, and or even an adult's life that it is affecting. I can't even begin to imagine walking around or spending every single day in the dark. So, spread awareness, advocate, 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 and never give up.